You're ready to invest in solar, but you have multiple electric meters to offset? Now what? In this video, we introduce meter aggregation and how it works in Virginia to help you use solar to offset multiple electric meters. So Larry, before we dive into how it works specifically in Virginia, explain to us what meter aggregation or virtual net metering is.
So virtual net metering or meter aggregation is essentially you're installing solar on one meter, and then you're virtually taking those kilowatt hours from that meter, from the host meter, and applying them to satellite accounts that don't have solar connected. So it's really cool because you can install all the solar on this meter and apply it to these meters rather than installing multiple systems, one on each meter.
Right.
And it gives you the opportunity to virtually apply those kilowatt hours or dollars to other meters.
So if you don't have space in certain locations or it doesn't make sense financially, you can just build one system and select the meters that you want to send the electricity from that one system.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So how does it work specifically in Virginia?
So in Virginia, the first thing and the most important thing is that it's not available for everyone.
Yep.
It's only for customers of investor-owned utilities like Dominion and Appalachian Power.
Yep.
Co-ops like SVEC, Novec, ANEC, those co-ops do not allow virtual meter aggregation.
Okay.
So you can't do it if you're in a co-op. A couple of the details that are important is that it has to be the same account holder on the host meter as the satellite meters. Obviously, it needs to be the same utility.
Right.
Same utility, same account holder, same name on all the accounts. And then it has to be the same or contiguous properties across these various accounts and meters. And then finally, the distribution units or the transformer need to be on the property or on the contiguous property of these various meters. So there's a couple of details like that are important that we can help the customer figure out if it works for them. In addition, there's some complicated rules that depend on where the infrastructure is located. So utilities determine this on a case-by-case basis. So I guess what I'm saying is we might think everything looks good, and then we go to apply it to the utility, and then they say, well, because of X, Y, and Z, you can't do that.
Right.
So utility can always kick it out for other reasons as well as the reasons that I just mentioned, and we won't know that till we actually apply.
So how does that work in the process? How do we find that out for the customer so they know what they're signing up for?
So we can meet with utility on site to determine if they qualify, and we can do this before we submit the ICA or the interconnection paperwork to the utility. In many cases, we can even do this before contract signature. Not always, but sometimes. So we try to get on the front end of that as early as we can in the process so the customer knows what they're getting into. The other thing that's important here, one that I really want to highlight, is that the customer needs to understand the rate class for each meter. Maybe I should say it this way. The utility may adjust the rate class for the various meters.
Right.
Okay, so let's say you're on a rate class that's advantageous for solar, like all of your costs are per kilowatt hour. But then the utility says, well, if you're going to meter aggregate, we're going to change you to a rate class where a lot of your costs are demand charges, which solar can't touch. So we won't always know that right away, but we're going to try to find that out as early in the process as we can, but that is subject to change based on this. A couple other things, there's potentially an aggregation fee on top of the usage fees, similar to a customer charge.
Okay.
So the utility may decide to still have your customer charge and then charge you a monthly fee based on the number of meters in order to offer this service to the customer. They may eliminate customer charges on aggregated meters. So there's a variety of things that can happen. And again, our goal is to get that information as early in the process as absolutely possible so that the customer can make the best decision. Like I said, we bring the utility into the process before submitting the ICA as often as we can. And that process could take a couple of weeks. So that can take some time.
How does this meter aggregation and all the timing and figure this out impact a USDA REAP grant and that process?
Yeah, good question. That can complicate a USDA application, especially if you have residential usage on some of those meters, because USDA doesn't want to be covering residential usage. So typically what I would say is we would get the utility involved as early in the process as we can, and then once we kind of have a handle on what's going on, we apply for the USDA grant.
Right.
It doesn't always work that way. Sometimes we're in a rush to apply for the USDA grant. Sometimes we have to apply for that soon in the process before we know all the details, but that's typically how we like to work it out.
Are you ready to dive deeper into the ins and outs of a solar installation in Virginia? Then our Virginia Solar Buyer's Guide is perfect for you. Using the link in the description below, you'll get answers to all of the common questions asked by your fellow Virginians before they invested in solar. Thanks for watching. Hope you found this valuable.